Wexaukee Amateur Radio Club, September 7th, 2023, club meeting.
We ought to give a rousing welcome to Tom, who just got out of the hospital yesterday at 30 days. It's so good to see you. And for your information,
It's bad they put you in the hole.
yeah, our guest,
Yes, sir.
our guest speaker, I think he does the 6 o'clock newscast. So he's probably finishing up right now. He told me he'd be here at 1:45. So he'll be here and we'll have a fun time. But let's call this meeting to order and let's start out with Brandy. Tell us what we did a month ago, because most of us can't remember what we did 2 days ago.
The minutes of the August 6th meeting was called to order at 6:29 p.m. The minutes were read and approved. The financials were read and approved. The president's report that we were working on video for the meetings, we did get it and put it up on YouTube, and I do believe it worked well. We are running again tonight. The website had been updated, and they were requesting a volunteer for grill duty at the picnic. We had the Wings and Wheels event coming up, which I won't go into because it was more in the presentation. Rich had some information about scissor lift rental. It was noted that the Big Rapids group was celebrating 50 years, and we weren't sure exactly how long our club had been in existence. The fall dinner is still coming up. The activities are activitying. The Festival of Races was coming up. Gordy reported that the 440 machine is working fine, and they were looking at some changes to West Michigan Connect. Thank you to all the first-timers who've been doing net control. The Benzie group was changing some things around. We talked about Yezu radio programming and had a presentation on Wings and Wheels by Keith, the manager of the Wexford County Airport, that they wanted an emphasis on aviation and STEM field careers for the youths. They are supplying canopies, and there's some other stuff on parking, admission, and food. The meeting was adjourned at 7:31 p.m.
Any corrections or additions? Thank you, Brandy. Motion to approve? Jeff, second?
Second.
Tom? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign? Okay, it's been passed. Well, thank you, Brandy. Let's see. Lee, how are we doing financially? If I can figure out how to get your report up here.
You can put the second one up first.
The second one.
That one.
Oh. Okay, let me
Boy,
just...
you were right on.
Let me see if I can, yeah, that was an accident, trust me. Let's get it a little bigger so everybody can see it. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. Okay. All right, we're starting to do a summary page, because some of it gets cut off on our report. But we started out with a balance of $4,468.95. We brought in $95. Expenses was $92.92. So we had an ending balance of $4,471.03. So pretty light month actually. And then just hit two.
Let's see. Now we have to go down.
Oh.
And you guys are going to have to lay on your side.
Oh, we got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll start snoring.
Boy, that's why you're the president.
No, of course.
Okay, just to, as a reminder here, this is the center here. So everything on this side is income, everything on this side is expenses. So, let's see, we have phone bill, Jeff paid for coax, let's see, 50/50. Don paid his dues, Barry paid dues, and Rich was reimbursed for making.
He built
the
a
stand.
fortress.
Yeah, he built the fortress for us with the Wings and Wheels. Well, he did a great job.
Oh,
It was
fantastic.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's this shows the income, but the when I copy it, the expenses get cut off. But who cares? So we have it on this.
You have another sheet you want?
No? Oh yeah. But, first.
When do we typically pay our dues, at the beginning of the year?
Oh,
When
you're ahead of the game.
You set him up so beautifully. First of all,
you did it just fine.
any questions about the financial report?
make a motion, we approve it.
So moved. All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? It's passed. Now he's got something else here. If I can find it. Let's see.
I think the bylaws say that at the end of the year, December they're due. Doesn't that sound right?
yeah.
And if they're not paid by February, I take you off the mailing list.
Well, I don't think we quite did that, but,
Yeah, well, that's what we were planning on doing.
yeah. But some of them pay at the Hamfest and stuff, so.
Yeah.
I think we ought to wait 6 months anyway. I'm trying to get this mouse going. There we go. What would be nice this year is if we could get the dues collected and paid in November and December, and then they'd be paid by the first of the year.
Yes, sir.
And here, ARRL, they used to pay us a commission of $2 for a renewal. And I don't know what they gave for a new member, but they're now paying. Lynn brought to my attention they're now paying $5. So that adds up. So here's what the dues are. What is most? Okay. It's something. Oh, maybe I had it upside down. I do. Why didn't somebody tell me that? Okay. No, you didn't know either. Okay. So here's the dues for 2023. This is what they charge for ARRL. $49 for a year. They did away with the 2-year choice. 3 years is $140. In 2024, ARRL dues are going to be $59, and 3 years, $174. And I already had one person pay 3 years. So if you, in other words, if you pay before the first of the year, if I can get it in before the first of the year, you can get the old rate.
You get the 140 price?
You can get the 140.
Yes.
You can get the 140 price. Yes.
Even if you're not up for renewal, if you pay for that
Yep,
before the end of the year.
That's right.
So,
Don't pay it on the website, just pay,
well,
If you, that's a good question. If you turn it into me, then we get, and I send it in with a form, then we get a $5 step.
Okay.
If you don't, if you send it direct, we don't get anything.
okay. Thank you.
so look at that bottom line number. 70
Well,
members.
if there were 70 members and everybody sends it through the club, it's $350. I mean, we have a bill right now that I just paid, I think it's $440 for our storage rent. So they'd make a big dent in that. Another big bill we have is the tower rent, and I think that's like $600. So,
Yeah.
you know, we have a couple hefty bills that need to be paid.
Is that 600 per year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not that bad. I mean, it's $50 a month, but still, you know, it has to be paid.
Do you have the capability of taking credit card, or, no?
There's not a place on the form. And what I'm going to do is when we have our November meeting, is I'm going to provide you guys with forms. It's a one-page form for renewal.
Okay.
And I'll provide you with that. And I did talk to ARRL, and you can pay by the credit card, but there's no place on there for the credit card, but you can write your information on there, your renewal or the. See, I wouldn't do that, but
No.
he says most people won't do that.
No,
So.
sir.
The check would probably be appropriate.
Actually, what I would prefer, yes, is a check made out to ARRL. Then I don't have to deposit it and write another check.
Very good, sir.
So when you pay your dues, I don't care if you give me cash or check, but for the ARRL renewal, I would prefer a check made out to ARRL. So, but when we have our November meeting, I'll distribute the form.
Thank you, sir.
Bring your checkbooks.
Yes, sir.
So, any questions on that? So anyway, that'd be a way for you guys to save some money, and we'll make some money for the club. So. All righty, thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Just some little details about our, if I can find it here. Fall dinner is Monday, October 9 at 6 o'clock at Berkey's. Please put your name and how many are coming with you. So like if it's Tom and you're bringing Carol, you put 1, Tom plus 1.
Is that a pen?
What did I do with my pen? Here you go.
Thank you.
Okay? And hope you all come there. We're a club that likes to eat. Speaking of that, club picnic was a great success. We had a record 34 attendees. We reserved the pavilion for August 18, 2024. Write it down. Okay? Wings and Wheels. Everybody who participated says it was a great event, and I agree. We had a lot of kids come through. They got to talk, 6 o'clock. They got to talk on the radio. We're looking for ways to make it even better. Special thanks to everyone who helped, but also Keith did a great job. Keith Newell, the airport manager, he's a ham. And he just learned this week there's an opportunity to apply for a $2.5 million grant to build a community center at the airport. And the community can use it. We could use it for club meetings. So hope that goes through.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
That was August 18th for the picnic.
August 18, 2024. Don't miss it. Did you get enough to eat there, Jeff?
Yes, sir, I did.
Yeah, so
Thank
did
you
I.
very much.
Could too much.
Yes, sir. No, not too much. It might look like too much.
Festival races. Tom, how'd it go?
It did. It went real well. In fact, it came off without a hitch. I want to thank Lee, KD8UVN, Dave, WD8LVZ, Ken and Jeff, KE8WQG and N8JAP, Rod, KE8MIR, my wife and daughter, KE8LHI, KBV, and Van, WA8LKV, and especially Mark, KX8XX, who was a sweeper. He did both the 10 and 5K, which I didn't expect him to do. It ran real smooth. In fact, go ahead, Rod, tell them about your encounter.
I had the director of the race stop by at Kentwood Park, and he had me pose with our club dust and the festival race little sign that they stick in the ground for their promotion for next year.
So you're famous.
Yeah, you'll probably show up on YouTube or on Facebook or
Okay.
someplace.
During the break, he is giving autographs, and he's not going to charge a penny.
But it went real smooth. There was no problems, like I said, it ran extremely well.
Good. Thanks for doing it, guys. It's a great way for us to serve our community.
Yes.
All right, social media. We're trying to do a better job by updating more regularly. Check out our website. It's now being updated. We're going to try to get it updated at least monthly, maybe more. We have a Facebook page. We're trying to keep that updated. Also, thanks to Tim, we have our own YouTube channel, Wexaukee ARC. You can go there maybe by tonight at 7:30 and watch our club meeting. Well, no, maybe not tonight, but our August meeting is on there. We've got other things on there from Wings and Wheels, and Tim's the one that kind of handling that. So, and the last thing on my president's report was to say, Tom, KD8EOA, is back home and doing well. No, he's not. He's right here. So that's good. Now we have the pleasure, yes,
Did you give the date for next club picnic?
August 18, 2024.
Thank you.
All right. And the meat goes on the grill at 1. That's kind of how we do it. We now have a vice president's report. You ready, Mr. Vice?
Yeah, I better hand out some papers.
Here, I'll hand them out while you...
Okay, this first stack goes to this table. The second one goes to the next table. The third one to that table. And the bottom one goes to this table.
That's a lot to remember, man.
Is this a test? I didn't study.
Yeah.
I think you only need
Get to keep the rest.
Great. I'll give them back to Glenn.
Some of what I put, those things go around the table.
Everybody get one?
Okay, everybody's got one, Mark.
Everybody got one?
This is
Let me
for
get this
the,
off here.
Yeah, that's okay.
For the fall thing.
for the fall dinner at
Okay,
Berkey's.
Bill.
Here's the pen that goes with it.
Okay.
But anyway, you already heard that the
Okay,
ARRL
that sounds
dues
good.
is raised to 59
I'd go
from
for it.
49. That's $10 a year more. And my wife will be glad to know that that does not include a paper
I'll send
magazine,
myself.
just digital. And she will be glad for that because she doesn't like to have that much paper lying around. You can get the paper for QST and on the air for an extra $25 a year each. But I won't pay that because my wife will be glad if I don't.
Okay.
And she might pull my hair if I did.
Okay.
Anyway, but the dues include those four things. You see them there: QST, on the air, QEX, and NCJ, National Contest Journal or something like that. And you have a whole lot of other stuff that the dues brings you. And Gordy and I, anyway, make use of the email forwarding. You can, if you're a member, they'll forward emails. You can use that, and you'll have a little less access to the, shall we say, you'll have a little less bothering by email. But anyway, Gordy does it regularly, and I have always done it when I had exams. You want me to defer to Tom?
No, keep going, keep going.
So then there's a learning center that the ARRL has, and that includes, well, help to get on and work on the air, emergency communications, electronics and technology help if you want it, and if you happen to be a classroom teacher or a volunteer instructor, you can get help with that. And the news and events, well, you can see all that. There are a whole bunch of bulletins that come. The club news, I could show you a copy here, several pages long, about the news of clubs in this country. And there's the DX news that comes every month, I think. I don't know how often I get it, because I don't accumulate it, since I have way too much paper already.
Yes, sir.
But, and the Keplerian data has to do with propagation, and the one on propagation, strangely, has to do with propagation, and there are a whole bunch of others you can sign up for. You don't have to sign up for any. You've got the club information, whatever you want to know about how to handle clubs, where clubs are. If you want mailing labels to mail to clubs, you can get them, and so on.
Are you still gonna be that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm keeping that. I'll do that. You do a damn good job.
Then the license information that tells where exams are held, and you can get practice exams there. You don't have to pay for them. And you can get help to understand things. The entire question pool you can get, and a whole lot of other things. What I've been glad for in the 20 years that I gave the exams, I was always glad that they would furnish the exams and handle all of the paperwork so that I didn't have to do everything. That's good, because I didn't want to really do anything. Yeah. But I did. So anyway, there, in the magazine, you have product reviews of equipment, and you can also get in on forums of various kinds, online and at the ARRL conventions. And for the Assistance for the Disabled, those of you who know Tom Baylor, was in Big Rapids. Now he's in Granville because his son Dan lives down there. And he always tells us about Handy Ham because he's blind. And incidentally, Tom Baylor bought our house when we retired from Ferris. And I had a ham shack in the basement. I had a 2-inch plastic tube, PVC pipe, going up to the attic, and had an antenna up in the attic. He had been a novice, had let it lapse, and he decided he was going to do it again, and now he's been general and extra for many years. So anyway, there are a lot of other things I've listed here on this sheet for the benefits of hams. And I'll quit talking because I think you can all read.
Yeah.
And but there's one thing at the bottom I want to reinforce, and that is there's so much on the ARRL website that I don't think one could look at it in a lifetime. But you can get what you want there in relatively fast order. Any questions?
Thank you, Van. And the other thing is they are our voice. They're the ones that make sure that we keep our frequencies, that we don't have other services encroach on us. So I'm a big believer in ARRL.
And they are members of the IARU, International Association of Radio, I don't know, something.
Radio Union.
Radio Union, yeah. And they are also in the ITU, International Telecommunications Union. Those things are the worldwide groups that regulate radio within as much as possible. And they are very, very, very carefully always keeping track of our governmental agencies regarding radio.
Thank you, Van.
And I think that for any one of those things, the dues are good. I'd be willing to pay the $59 a year just to have almost any one of those. But fortunately, we get them all.
Thank you, Van. We're going to quickly go over net control. You all know about the club activities. They haven't changed. 10 meter is kind of interesting because they choose a topic. Sometimes a topic that there might be slight disagreement over. Last Wednesday or Tuesday was our labor unions, have they helped the economy or hurt the economy? I imagine there were some differing opinions there. But they're not always that. What's coming up Tuesday, Rich?
I don't know.
I was counting on you, but I don't think it's controversial. I think it's kind of like...
It was on the list, and you presented it out there. You sent an email with that on there. And,
Thanks, Rich.
I
Thanks a lot, Rich.
Well,
I got a
I'm
comment.
over 70, so cut me some slack.
Okay, well, listen, let's get the net controls and get moving. So,
We don't have to
We
do
don't need
net
to-
control.
No.
actually, we don't.
Not till next month.
Not till October.
Okay,
Can I make a comment about the 10 meter?
if it's brief,
It is brief.
like your...
Extremely important for local nets because we have people check in from all over the United States when the band's open, and when they hear the activity, they're there, okay? So that's why the 6 meter net and the 10 meter net are so important. Local activity is on, people are on, band is open, people are asleep at a switch, and all of a sudden, whoa, there's activity, and we have guys check in.
Good, that's a good thing.
Yes.
All right.
Lynn, can I say something before you go on? Just a quick statement. I spent 30 days in the hospital. You know what I should have had with me? The handheld. I went into the hospital wearing one of my amateur radio shirts. Everybody asked about that call sign. And I didn't have anything there to show them how to use it. And I have my radios programmed for Traverse City. And I wish so if you go in the hospital, grab your handheld. When you go.
Give me my handheld. Give me my handheld. All right.
If you go into Cadillac, my number's 67970, I can find something.
Yeah. All right, let's take our coffee break and be back at 7 for our guest speaker.
Special guest, Chief Meteorologist Tom O'Hare.
As you know, we had him scheduled in the summer, and his job has to do with weather. And some big weather came in and just wiped him out of our club meeting. And he was kind enough to reschedule, and he needs no introduction. You see him all the time. I watch you regularly. I was getting ready to put in my garden one year, and he warned me against it. You didn't know that, but I decided not to put it in because you said there was going to be a hard frost, and I didn't want those tomato plants to die. So would you please give a Wexaukee Amateur Radio Club welcome to our guest speaker, Tom O'Hare.
Thanks, Glenn, and I appreciate it, and glad we can make it this time. At least it's cooler, it's comfortable, it's not bad, and looking pretty good up there. Thank you all for having me tonight. And I hope all of you know who I am, but maybe somebody don't watch the 9, 10 minutes. That's okay. I won't hold it back. Obviously, I've been here a long time, so I know most people know who I am. I've just been walking around town and says, Tom, how you doing? Thanks for blaming the weather on me and all that too, because it happens all the time. But it's always back and forth. It's always pretty funny that I have the one job everyone says he keeps his job, but he's wrong 50% of the time. But you know what in reality is, we are a lot more accurate than that. And just, you always tend to remember the times that they're wrong. The weather is wrong, yeah, I'm like, it happens. Especially when it's a snowstorm, right? 6 inches, 8 inches, it's close enough. You gotta plow it anyway.
Amen.
Yeah, exactly. So that's me. If you didn't know it, that's who I am. Again, I'm the one who loves the outdoors too. I know others at the station do, but I'm the one out in the water. That's me, snow blowing at my house down in Wexford County, over here near Meteorologist. That's about a 100-yard driveway there. It's a big U. That's a 34-inch or 32-inch width thing. And yeah, that's a lot of plowing, but it's fun. It's out there going out the UP, having fun. I mean, we all like the outdoors, right? Hopefully, to some degree. So I do too. That's part of life. I was lucky enough to be out in a prescribed burn a couple of years ago. And so kind of watching the weather and what's going on was kind of a neat thing to be in there. Also, on a side note, my 40th birthday was a big one where I was up in a hot air balloon, and I was also skydiving that year, which is neat because we could actually go up in the plane. I knew where the cloud deck was, how things were going to change. All of a sudden, hit the cloud layer, the temperature dropped off like that. Just shows you how you can feel that temperature inversion, how it impacts that, and we know how that impacts radio communications too. Temperatures make a difference. So out there having fun. That's me this past year up in Canada having fun up there. One of those small walleye we got. Fun. And of course, wait for this coming soon too. And considering what I think we've all probably seen recently, it's probably gonna be a bit early this year, just the way it looks. Big reason, the stress on the trees this spring. You know, it was a dry spring, but also the atmosphere was just dry too. We didn't have a lot of humid days like the last couple of days we've had. Were very sticky. Most of this late spring and early summer with highs in the 80s and 90s. The dew points were so low, it kind of felt like the desert. So it didn't really help the trees that much, and we had a lot of stress, a lot of problems. I took a flight from Cadillac to Manistee and back, and it was in the spring, and you didn't see much bright green going on. You could just tell it was very, very dry, and that's on our map still shows where it's kind of dry out there at that one point. So it makes a difference, and I'm sure we're going to have an early fall color change this spring. So, Michigan, we're here. We love it. It's a rough place to forecast. I grew up in New York State, not downstate, but upstate. So I've lived in Buffalo, New York, Rochester, New York, Watertown, New York, which is well known for major snow areas. Tuckahoe Plateau. I mean, I was there at one point where they had 78 inches of snow in a 24-hour period.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And about officially 94 inches in 2.5 days. So I go to students and classes, I tell them, I go, roughly, it was about this high in 2.5 days. And they're like, what, are you kidding? Like, no, I go, there are people that are out there snowmobiling in the cabins. They had to be rescued by helicopters because their snowmobiles were just deep in the snow. They couldn't get out. It was, I mean, the amount of snow was insane. Where I was, I think we only had about 2.5 feet over about 24 hours. And that was a lot. And we get that every so often, some good snowstorms, but think about 3-4 feet of snow in just a day. That's...
Don't you do that this year?
I hope not. So I know it's tough. It's tough there. It's tough everywhere. But it's really tough where we are here because, as Lynn and I were just talking about, our viewing area for 9XN News is gigantic. In comparison to New York State, it's like 3 times where I used to forecast. So we're roughly, here's Wexaukee County right there, and we forecast from roughly here to the Sioux, and it's a widespread. And they think about walking, how they forecast. It's just a massive area. There's so much to talk about. I mean, down here, down south, it's generally flat. Up north, it's flat and hilly, depending on location. And then up the UP is also flat and hilly. Lots of different ways to look at it. And here in northern Michigan, Cadillac. Does everyone realize that Cadillac's truly in that little bowl around the area? I mean, I live, again, Wexaukee, I'm about 150 feet higher than we are here. And if you're driving in from out to east, to here in the right conditions, you can actually see a nice fog layer sometimes over Lake Cadillac. And it's really amazing how it just kind of settles down. And a lot of people don't realize that it is a little bowl right there. And it makes a big difference in temperature. So clear skies, cold air, the cold air tends to dive down the deeper valleys like we have here. And what you can see on this general view is that higher elevations right here, and there's Cadillac where it's a bit lower, and up here is actually higher, but is relatively flat. So Cadillac, McBain, Highland, Marion there, again, generally flat, but then you drop down the Cadillac, and there's the bigger hills to the west of us towards Cabernet, Muskegon. Have a good time there. So what are our biggest impacts? Great Lakes. Who loves lake effect snow? Nobody. I do. Come on. You saw me snow blowing out there. I still ski. I still snow blow. I still go snowmobiling. I now are more of an ice fisherman too. Getting more into it. I got married a couple years ago and going up to the UP every year now, going ice fishing, having a good time. And even this 2 years ago, get this now, ice fishing in the shack. My father-in-law having a great time with lots of fish. My phone's right here. You know what's going to happen to here? Phone's here. It goes. Boop, 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 It hit like 6 things. Like, how would it still go down in there? And then you look down there, you can see it right there. And you see like 15 perch, 1 big pike, and yet we're still catching fish. Go, keep on catching, let's bring them in. And we brought them in.
Okay.
And later we went to get a big net to get down in there. I couldn't get underneath the phone. And I'm like, you can see it, I'm like, how my neck? It's just muck or how it was.
It was already ruined.
It worked for 2 hours afterwards.
Oh, really? You didn't get it out?
My wife says, yeah, with the Wi-Fi, we could see where exactly you're located. I go, yeah, I know. And also, so it was working, hard to believe, but it wasn't super deep. It was only like 10, 12 feet. So it's still waterproof or water resistant to so many meters, just to the point, but not for, yeah. Anyway, you would think after a swing hits, it would stop, but it didn't happen. So, another story. Great Lakes, winter snow, heavier snow, UP, northwest and lower, but we know it adds moisture in the wintertime. It calms things down in the summertime. In the spring, more notably, how many times have you seen storms come across Wisconsin, hit the lake, and just fall apart? And nothing, it just breaks apart, because it needs the energy from the heating of the earth. And it hits the water, it's like, at that point, 45, 50 degrees, going from a temperature of like 80, and just disrupts it, messes it up. Things don't really get active around here, more or less, until, call it late summer, even early fall. Now, Gaylor tornado a couple years ago there, ideal conditions, yes. But typically, because we have those bigger rounds of storms, like a couple years ago in August, northwestern lower down through here, big waves of severe weather blowing on through. Again, a little later in the season. So help storms summer and fall. So in the end, wind is out there. For us, it's more of a drying effect in the lakes. And the good news, as we know, it disrupts those storms. But in the wintertime, we get cold, right? But do we get as cold as, say, Milwaukee? Not at all. I mean, that lake helps to generate some clouds, adds moisture to the atmosphere in the wintertime, and keeps us much, much warmer. Even when the lakes are frozen over, there's still some moisture coming out of the ice and moisture through the ice to add some cloud to the atmosphere. Our typical coldest nights are winds from the northeast, which is like, that's weird. But it's because there's a lot more land to come over, a lot more snow to come through over that area and come down into us. If it's from the northwest, it's picking up a little more moisture, which means maybe a little more clouds, a little more warmth. So those dew points don't bottom out and say 20 below, so like 8 below. Woo, big difference there, but it's a bit of a difference.
It is.
Yeah. So biggest impacts continuing on. Elevation, higher. Overall cooler air tends to be less moisture. Lower levels, warm air, more moisture, tends to be more foggy, like say Traverse City, we're higher than they are. And then tend to have more warmth and more moisture right there, but the lake shore just tends to sit around. For us, we don't have that what we call downsloping. It's when, say, the winds are for around here, south to southwest. So we'll be at like, say, call it 90 degrees. Traverse City, under the same conditions, but because of the downsloping wind, it kind of dries out the atmosphere, helps to warm up several more degrees. So ideally, they'd be the same temperature if we had the same elevation, but because we're going from here to down there, it's like 94 there, 95. So opposite in terms of cold weather, cold air comes down, we get cold here, but because lake influence in Traverse City, they tend to stay warmer with the extra moisture there too. But again, overall, compared to, say, Wisconsin, we're still warmer than they are.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys want to know about forecasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got a couple options for you here. See, this is one thing that we tend to use at the weather station, or at 910 News. It's called the HRRR, High Resolution Rapid Refresh. Very small resolution, takes pinpoints every 3 kilometers of information going on right now and produces a forecast for that. Atmospheric levels, we're talking about from ground to so far up, we're talking about temperature, dew point, wind speed, wind direction. You name it, there's something out there, it's taking an evaluation of that and giving us answers for that same thing throughout the atmosphere. Forecast is short term though, 12 hours out. Every 12 hours, every 6 hours, it goes out for about 2 days. But this is the fact that it's updated every hour, and then it goes up to every 12 hours. So it's very accurate for like storms coming in. Where is it right now? Okay, here's the current data. It projects another hour in advance, another hour in advance, another hour in advance. So it's very, very good at predicting what's going to happen down the road. So I like that a lot. The good news is that it goes out to 48 hours every couple hours. Next one is a Barron model. It's one that we have just for our station. It's again limited use, has different resolutions, updated every 3 hours. It's good. I won't say it's awesome. It's good that we have a couple options there. And the newest one's out there. This is called an MBM. I don't really use it yet. It's a national blend of models. So it used the other ones I just showed you, plus a lot of others. And all the information is put into one basic model, weighted differently for the answers, and gives you this basic answer of what it most likely will be. So think of all the answers, every person's answer in the room here, put into a big computer and spits out one answer. It could be right, could be wrong. It tends to be good, but I wouldn't say great. So there's still lots of evaluations even with that model.
So it's not quite as accurate then, you're saying?
It depends how you look at it. It is accurate, yes. But there's still some inaccuracy to it. There's no doubt about it. I don't like it that much yet. I haven't learned to love it. I've practiced with it every so often. It just, there's so much more information to look at. I don't need to see that. I need to see this. I know what's going to happen after that. You've learned it from so many years of forecasting. Now, I've been in the business since '94, so I think I know a couple things. And when you see other things happening, you're like, yeah, that model's wrong. And most recently, it was funny that an upgrade was sent out to the our longer term, what I call GMS model. And let's see what's in this one here too. Hold on. First, we'll talk about this one. The European model, which is actually much better than the American model. That's a 9-kilometer resolution, every 6 hours, forecasts up to 15 days, extended longer range model predictions as well. It has a very long term. It's a very good model. Is it perfect? No, but it does a very good job. All right, it's not gonna work. So, our American model, it's called the GFS. Unfortunately, they had to upgrade to it just I think it was a year and a half ago. And the recent warmth has determined that there's an error with it. So, in the last couple months, they've been putting out numbers for our local area like 98 degrees, 102 degrees. Other parts of the country was saying 104, 115, 120. Had you forecasted using that data, some spots would have the all-time record highs broken several times over the year. The researchers know it's bad data. They know it's not putting out the right information, but they see the earliest it could get fixed is in, I think it was early 26. So it's like, might as well redo the whole thing. And it's frustrating to how long it might take. So a lot of us are more relying on the European model. It has been doing a better job over the years, and this latest update just proves to me, I glanced at the GFS model, but this stuff is certainly more accurate in the longer term. So where can you get some of this information? Here are your options. Easiest stuff, we use Pivotal Weather a lot online. We do have a computer system, gets access to a lot of information, but the stuff online is even quicker to look at, click buttons and flow through the weather forecasts. Pivotal Weather one is there. College DuPage is another one, very similar. Tropical Tidbits, very similar to National Weather Service, and the European model exactly similar. They're a little different, but like these also have this in it, so you can only go to one spot and catch them all. All right, I'm hoping I can go onto here and show you what I'm talking about too. Is it attached to the internet?
No,
No, we can't.
but it can be.
All right, if you could, that'd be awesome.
This is going to be a little scary.
Well, I see it's connected to the Wi-Fi, so I'm just wondering. So see that down there.
Oh, you're on it. I
Sir.
did it. Note that in the minutes. Note that in the minutes, please.
I don't believe it.
You did it. You did it. Yay, you did it. I'm gonna give you a hand that you did it.
Tom, do you use NOAA very much from Gaylord, like what they forecast?
Yes, we actually do. We look at their information, we see what they're putting out for the numbers too, and we start using that within our forecast at the same time. I don't always agree with them. I can make some changes to what I want to make it look like, but they do a very good job, yes.
So do you.
Well, thank you.
Even though we blame you for it sometimes.
I know.
He was talking about, 50% of the time, he's right. There are athletes in baseball teams that are making millions of dollars a year, and they fail 70% of the time to
Right.
go to the plate. So keep that in mind.
So this is Pivotal Weather here. Clicking on the models, should come up here, yep. So I'll show you, there's a lot of information here. And this is the GFS, which I, again, don't like so much. We're going to jump on the European model, high resolution. It looks better. And I'm switching the location to regional, us here. Come on. There you go. There you go. So that's the basic forecast for what was going on today, 18Z, which is 2 p.m. So then up here, we can change a single image to a forecast group. And then, that's why I say it's like all in one big site that tend to have all the information right there. And so I'm just going to blow through the forecast real quick. And you can see there's the green coming in towards us now. This updates every 6 hours, so here comes, it falls apart, right? Between there and there. That's Sunday, 18Z. So I still have a chance of a shower or forecast for Sunday because it misses some of the data between 18Z and the evening hours. So that might just fall apart, but it might make it here too, is a possibility. Then we look into next week. What does it look like for you?
Rain.
Yeah, rain showers. And then I have a wraparound system right there. So that's the one model. Let's see the GFS now. For the same period roughly in time. Good Monday, let's go back to Sunday first. So Sunday, is it the same thing as you saw a minute ago? No.
No, it doesn't look like that at all.
I mean, it's a lot drier.
Yeah.
So it's, again, my job is looking at that model, this model, like so many other models, to trying to give you a forecast.
So what do you do in that situation? You've got, just of those two models, you've got one that's saying rain, one that says, what do you do?
And my job is exactly trying to figure out what's best. And because I know the two models, which one I like the most, which one I don't like, I tend to lean towards the one I like the most. Which
is the
shows
European
you,
one,
it could
right?
give you a shower, which to me shows, it showed a shower wave coming in and then falling apart. So I agree with that. The fact will it make it across the lake and fall apart, decent chance, but I think there's a decent chance too that it makes it across the lake. Now the water temperature's gone up, there's residual moisture coming out, quick shower. Yeah, it could happen. Odds are it's not. I think it's gonna be mostly dry, but it's a possibility. The biggest thing is here, you click on the model, and here are all the models we've kind of talked about to some degree. CMS is more of a climate, larger scale model, but then you have the European model, the GFS, the Canadian model, there's a United Kingdom model, then the NAM, the RAP, I mean, just a lot of stuff.
Wow.
Lots of information, all giving you different answers to the same thing. So that's why I focus on the ones I know, and even the new ones that come out, I evaluate and figure out what I need and how well it's doing. So it gets tricky, but it's just learning over time, as we all are with kind of what you do too. You're learning your craft of communicating with others too, and when the best conditions to do a certain way. Question?
All these different sources are giving us different amounts of information that you have to interpret.
Yeah.
Where are they getting their information from?
Supercomputers. I mean, this is the raw data. You can't get anything, but this is like the weather service use the same stuff that we are right here forecasting. So I make my forecast, they're making their forecast, and I tend to make my forecast and go with that. I'll look at what they've done, but I don't really change much at all, just because there are timing of things have to be putting out there, and information has to be out there quicker than they do. So we have to be trusting what we're forecasting.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, it's there. But again, they use the same stuff we do. So it's like, is there a difference? You laugh, like, why did they go that way? Or what's going on? Like, oh, did I miss something? Or did I see something they didn't see? So it's evaluating all the time. And then every couple hours too, seeing what's changed and how can we make it better. So, questions?
Yeah.
There's just tons of stuff. That's kind of why I love weather, because there are a lot of answers, but learning that sequence of what is likely to happen, you see it happening, and all of a sudden, okay, that should happen there, that should happen there, that should happen there, and all of a sudden, that should be the answer. And when it comes right way down here, like, yes, got it right 3 days in advance. So, all right, go
So
ahead.
you're not pulling data from GOES 9 or NOAA 9?
Oh, 16, 7, yeah, we are. We're using that data. I mean, all that
Not
data.
personally at the station.
Oh, at times, yeah. I mean,
Oh, okay.
the satellite pictures you guys see us use, those are from the newest satellites out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are using ATP, automatic picture tape.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Using that and what else is available. I mean, there's so many things even just on the ground now too, that's because of wind speed, wind direction, and how it's interpreted and put into computer systems. Like we've learned that the data tend to be better at the 7 o'clock hour in the morning and at night than the in-between hours, which are like 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. At least the way
Well,
it's
they're
timed right now.
drawing moisture content, and infrared, cloud cover.
Well, the biggest thing of the 7 o'clock hour is when they actually put the balloons up in the air and use actual sensors to go up throughout the atmosphere.
Ah.
Whereas the ones in between hours tend to use the sensors off the ground that shoot up in the sky, give you what it thinks it is, but it's not an actual sensor going up in the sky.
They actually still put balloons up.
Oh yes, twice a day, if not more times.
Wow.
Yeah. And they do use data from aircraft. So when we recently, the last couple of years, we had no planes in the air for a little while, fewer planes we'll say, during COVID, we're losing some data. It wasn't available because there were no planes. And they do use that data that's being sent out from the planes too.
I'm always interested in how people get into certain careers. What made you become a weatherman?
I love the weather. I mean, I've always been
Even as a
outside.
kid?
Yeah, outside, I was out riding my bike, having fun for hours every day. wanted to know whether or not we'd have school the next day too, so on a forecast. And it was funny because I'm looking at this TV station, looking at the newspaper for the forecast, and then making my own forecast from what was I see is going on and what really happens afterwards. And it's just funny how that I could predict some things better than other people. They were doing like, all right, you see the trend of the atmosphere. And same thing is like when I see, like if I ever go to a casino, I see trends in cards and things like that, and you have a tendency to see where things are going to go.
Cool.
It just a feeling of things. That's my feeling about weather. You tend to get this feeling about how things are going. And once you know it, you're like, all right, yeah, that should happen. That should happen. Also, that should fall apart. And sometimes you are wrong. We're not perfect, but we do a really good job more often than not. And just every so often our forecasts are wrong. And it's funny how there's been times where we've had some big wave of storms. We had a prediction of like potential for lots of severe weather, and we had lots of strong storms, a couple of severe storms, but nothing that caused major damage. And some people are like, well, you got it wrong. Like, yeah, we did, but we're happy because it just didn't reach the next level up. We were so close, potential was so big, we just didn't get there. I go, I'm happy about that. I don't mind being wrong for that. That's fine with me. So I don't want to see bad stuff either. Yeah.
Yeah, were you Bill Spencer's successor?
No, I was, oh my gosh.
David
Dave
Behrens? Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have several other meteorologists at the station. Do you guys, are you like Noah? Do you hand the forecast down to them, or do you guys have meetings and you read?
I'll tell you, here's our forecast sheet that I put out today. This stays at the station, and every person makes their own forecast, leaves it right there so you can see what they've done from previous shifts.
Wow.
And so we all know what's going on. And if it's wintertime, typically we'll email each other or write some bigger notes at the margin saying, focus more on so-and-so model, went this way, more this way. Just to let everyone know what's going on. So we're in the same loop of the basic model, what's going on.
Michael Stevens is local boy, isn't he?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know his second grade teacher, and she said that in a paper or something that he wrote that he wanted to be a meteorologist.
Yes, yeah, exactly. In fact, he lives like maybe 1/8 of a mile from here. It's like 2 blocks over, so. Yeah, I mean, those of us, I think, who love the forecast and get into it so much, we could talk for hours about this stuff because there's so much information. It's just how to make it interesting, because it was funny, this afternoon we're in a meeting talking about going on. I was like, I have to do certain things with the weather, and I was going to leave for the 7 o'clock show. Like, okay, and then someone asked me at the 6, like, so you're gonna be here for 7? I go, no, like, they didn't hear what I said about leaving, or they didn't hear about the thing about the weather. They were kind of zoned out there watching, looking at the phone. I go, and that's how can I get my way, how can I find a way to get your attention when giving the weather? So a question for you guys, how many here has a cell phone? Pretty much everyone nowadays, right? Now, we changed apps a couple years ago, this past year, in fact. If you had a little app that popped that says, hey, Tom here with the forecast, you click on the app, the thing say, Tom, here's your video forecast. Or we just go to it no matter what. Does it make a difference?
I use the app
Right.
all the time. So.
Right. That's one of the things we're kind of looking at to find out what's going on. What are people doing? Are they just clicking on any old app, or the favorite app you know from us, or whatever? So, just wondering.
I can say I like the model that you used on the previous app versus this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's funny too, I used both up in Canada, and the one we used previously was way wrong compared to the one I use now.
Oh.
Surprisingly.
Okay, then I'll stick with this one. I just like the screen better.
The way it looks better. And I know we're trying to get that fixed too, by the way. We really are. It's been more of a pain than not to get it fixed the way we like it.
You said you lived in Wexaukee.
Yeah.
What do you have for internet out there?
Actually, I just ordered Spectrum.
I figured you
They
did.
put in, 2 months ago, and they actually Verizon LTE Home was just offered too, but I need a higher speed for some things I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, a friend of mine just hooked up in Boone, and she's got, I did a speed test, 520 megabytes down. That's like instantaneous.
Yeah. Well, in my house, I try to actually use the T-Mobile one for $50 a month. It was like unlimited speed. Where I live in a little valley right on the higher elevation edge, I couldn't get 1 bar.
Wow.
I mean, I actually have a directional antenna for when I had AT&T. It got me 2 to 3 bars. Because at my house, I'd get 1 bar AT&T, maybe 1 bar Verizon. Now, Verizon's put the newer towers in nearby. I'm normally 3 to 5 bars now. But
I live in the country too.
Yeah.
Spectrum ends half a mile down the road. I'm hoping they come my house. I have Starlink, you've heard of Starlink.
Oh, yeah, I know
That
people
works.
getting it, yeah.
That works good.
Yep, and just the cost is a little high, but it's reliable.
$20 a month, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I promised Tom we'd get him out here at 7:30. I guess I broke my promise.
That's okay.
On behalf of the Wexford Amateur Radio Club, we want to thank you for being here. And when you have your cup of coffee tomorrow morning, you can remember us. And
Appreciate it.
let's give him a big hand. He'll be And by the way, we usually go around and do introductions, but everybody knows each other except I don't know if everybody knows Bill and Mary. Introduce yourselves, where you're from.
I'm Mary, WD8JHU, and I'm from Traverse City, and this is my brother Bill.
Bill Andrus, W8FFG from Grawn. And Tom O'Hare might even remember me because I was a guy in Grawn that had the downdraft and microburst about 8 years ago that blew the front windows out of my house.
Oh my God.
The antenna,
But it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault.
antenna mast down. They had my place on the news.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had a recent neighbor who was into ham radio too, and he passed away unfortunately. So I don't know how even with you guys or not, but also another Tom, retired colonel, I believe.
What was his
Can I
name?
get
Tom, I forgot his last name. It's killing me though.
Where did he
I'll
live?
take the
Out by Meteorologist.
Oh,
29 Road.
Tom, he lived right on the main road right
Yeah,
there?
29. Yeah.
Oh, he passed away?
I've been told he did. Yes.
Okay. He used to get on our repeater once in a while. He had a 3-call from
Yeah.
out east.
Yeah, from out east. Yeah.
I'm trying to think his name.
I have an interesting thing here, is I lived in Batavia, New York.
Yeah, I worked there too.
And when I came back to Michigan to go to Ferris, my mother made my dad buy a snowblower because there was only one shoveler and there was my brother.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
We close our meetings with a raffle, so take out your tickets, and here, you might win $8 tonight.
Okay.
Listen up, get your tickets.
There was a bunch of
Leah?
electronics around it. They didn't
Last
want to bring
three
away
digits.
from it.
851.
Nope. not
Nope.
even close.
851.
Rich, you win this every week.
Every week.
The luckiest
Big money
person
right
ever.
there.
All right, the meeting's adjourned. If you want to come up and say hi to Tom, thanks for
Okay.
coming, everybody.